Good Sunday morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, we're focused on nearly 21 million American men and women. They are United States military veterans. And this discussion comes at a very important time. Starting in June, in fact, important changes happen to veterans' health care. Government officials say that America's warriors will have better access to health care through what is called community care programs. Meantime, Mobile has welcomed a brand new outpatient VA facility. Located in Tillman's Corner, the 65,000 square foot building replaces the VA clinic located on Spring Hill Avenue. Veterans and officials are saying that it's the latest example of community-based health care. They say it is designed to give veterans faster service and better access to their health programs. Now, federal officials say that this is what the Mission Act is all about. Signed into law by President Trump last year, is set to begin on June the 6th, the anniversary of D-Day. VA Secretary Robert Wilkie sat down with a representative of the Concerned Veterans of America group to talk about what the Mission Act hopes to achieve.
What Mission does is it rectifies a wrong. That's the first thing that it does by allowing those families who take care of our Vietnam veterans to have access to financial and educational resources to help them support those warriors from that era. I say it's one of the last loops that we have closed on that period of American history when so much wrong was done to those warriors who came back. The other thing that Mission Act does is that it opens the aperture of choice for our veterans. It says that the veteran is at the center of his health care, not the institution. For me, that is a liberty issue. By empowering America's warriors to take care of their own health care, not have the prerogatives of the bureaucracy overwhelm them as bureaucracies tend to do with all citizens. So that's revolutionary in and of itself. But what it does say is that if a veteran cannot get a particular service from the Department of Veterans Affairs, then that veteran has the option of going out into the private sector to find that care. So we are changing the focus of VA away from the institution and toward the veteran and the veteran's family.
And of course, we thank the Concerned Veterans for America organization for providing Secretary Wilkie's interview response for our program today. So, what does the Mission Act do? Well, beginning June 6, it provides veterans with more ways to access health care. It not only includes services within the VA's network, it also allows access to approved non-VA medical providers or doctors. The federal government also says that it expands program eligibility to family caregivers, and they say that it strengthens the VA's ability to recruit and retain the best medical providers. Here this morning to discuss the Mission Act and the latest information on community care is Brian Matthews, the Medical Center Director of the Gulf Coast Veterans Healthcare System. Also joining us this morning is Lou Lartigue, the retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and President of the South Alabama Veterans Council. Now, also this morning, you will hear from another veteran, John Kilpatrick, founder and executive director of Veterans Recovery Resources. But first this morning, we hear from one of our Gulf Coast veterans as we head into the break.
Well, I got high expectations for the new veteran hospital. I've been there 3 times already, and the service is so much better than it was on Spring Hill Avenue. You know, we still got a ways to go because Biloxi is way ahead of us, Pensacola is way ahead of us. So I think we're headed in the right direction with that veteran hospital.
I was there recently, and it's a vast improvement. Numerous of my providers, healthcare providers, asked me, so what do you think? Is it better? And I said yes. When I first started with the VA healthcare, it took 2 weeks and nobody would answer the phone. Now they answer the phone, you can get an appointment. Things are just looking a lot better. I've only been there 1 time, so I don't know the whole of it, but everybody seems a lot more upbeat, a lot happier. It's a much better setup.
And here this morning to discuss the Mission Act and the latest information on community care as well. Once again, Brian Matthews, the Medical Center Director of the Gulf Coast for Veterans Healthcare System. And also joining us this morning, Lou Lartigue, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and President of the South Alabama Veterans Council. Gentlemen, we thank you both for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Some very positive feedback there. It seems like some very highly anticipated people waiting to see the new system in place. And of course, over the last few years, we've been hearing some of the changes expected, and now the brand new facility here, which a lot of veterans have waited years to see this happen here along the Alabama Gulf Coast. What are you hearing from your clients as you're breaking into a brand new operation here for yourself? This is just a little over a year now here on the Gulf Coast, but a lot of folk expecting great things out of you as well.
Well, you know, we're very excited about the new clinic, and as I talk to veterans, I get similar feedback that they're very excited about having the clinic there. The clinic doubled the space of our previous location, and it allowed us to expand services such as primary care, women's health, audiology, optometry, orthopedics, and telehealth and behavioral health.
In hearing some of the comments from the field about what you bring to the table, you have seemed to be looking at ways to cut down on the travel for people, because Biloxi is the kingpin, so to speak. But when your region reaches all the way over to the panhandle of Florida, Panama City, and the folks around the Eglin establishment, that's a great distance. So how do you see your new way of doing business working now with the facility here in Mobile, as well as what you have to offer in Florida?
Well, that's always been one of our challenges, how we're set up, and we're very linear and spread out across the Gulf Coast. And so we're always looking for ways to partner with the community, partner with DOD, and then with the new Mission Act coming online, those are all options to help us address travel distance and wait times.
Let's talk about the Missions Act, and a lot of people are excited about what may start happening in June.
Yeah, June 6th is when we start the new Mission Act, and it makes things more veteran-centric, which is always a good thing, and it gives us new flexibilities that we didn't have under the old Choice program, such as if we can't see a veteran within 20 days, or they have to drive more than 30 minutes for specialty care or mental health, we can offer them choice. If for specialty care we can't see them within 28 days, or they have to drive more than 60 minutes, we can offer them choice. If we don't offer the service, we can offer them choice. And so there's a whole lot of different options. And one very brand new thing to the program is there's an urgent care component. So veterans will have 3 visits to urgent care if they need that type of service.
Lou, when you hear this type of information about to happen now, starting in June, as well as some of the other comments we're hearing from some of the veterans about what has happened in the last year since Brian Matthews has been here on the Gulf Coast, what are you hearing from the guys? You were in a meeting just recently where a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement going on as far as what the veterans were needing, as well as what they're hoping will be available.
I think in general that everyone, as you mentioned, the feedback that y'all are getting is also the same that I'm getting. Everybody's enthusiastic about the new clinic. We also have a problem here in the South Alabama, in our 8-county region, with transportation. And before the Mission Act, if someone had an appointment in Pensacola or Biloxi, it meant that they almost had to take a whole day off of work in order to make that appointment. With the increase in doctors and appointment times and everything, that's cut down. But we still have a problem up county with getting some of the folks to come here. Now, y'all recently opened an up county clinic, which really helps. And but transportation is an issue. Trying to get the city to reroute some buses around Mobile to get transportation for the veterans who don't have transportation to get to the new clinic is also a concern.
And we're talking nearly 60,000 veterans here in the South Alabama area.
Yes, in that 7-county area, and that's just the ones who are registered. There's something in excess of 72,000 veterans.
I think I'm in that number.
Yes. So it's a lot of veterans but I think the new clinic will also open up. I think you'll see more people registering to get into the VA, because they also are hearing, hey, this VA is not really that bad. Where before, you got that opposite feedback. And people wouldn't want to come register with the VA, whether they're a combat vet and trying to find out what their benefits are, or whether they're registering for medical help. They were leery. But all of this good press has really caused a buzz, and I think we're going to see more veterans register in the VA process.
On that point, we're going to hold that for a second. We're going to come back when we return and talk more about the Mission Act, as well as we mentioned earlier that we'll talk to John Kilpatrick as well. He's the founder and executive director of Veterans Recovery Resources on Spring Hill Avenue in Mobile. Now, Kilpatrick is also a U.S. Army Reserve Lieutenant Colonel with more than 33 years of service. Now, he knows firsthand that there are barriers that veterans must overcome. He takes us to the break.
The only way to answer that question is that every veteran has a different barrier. So, sometimes it's systemic, sometimes it's transportation, sometimes it's a mindset. Whatever it is, that's what we're about, is removing barriers to care. That's our mission. We spent months developing that mission statement, and it has really served us well since we started. Because removing barriers is whatever it is from keeping that veteran from getting the care they need.
PTSD, that you can be taken care of here because they have the doctors to work with you with the PTSD. They have the psychiatrists, but we just have to go. With PTSD, that's not a curable disease. I have PTSD, and I know, but I'm still here. I'm 72 years old, and God has blessed me with it. But you got to have some support. It's just like a drug addict. You got to have family support. You got to have the support of your church. You got to have God support, and you can get past that one too. Just like suicide. You can prevent suicide, but you have to have people to work with you, and you have to have love in your life.
And again this morning we're talking with Brian Matthews, the Medical Center Director of the Gulf Coast Veterans Healthcare System, and Lou Lartigue, retired Army Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, and President of the South Alabama Veterans Council. Two areas that he mentioned in that comment, PTSD and suicide, two issues is a major challenge right now for all of us veterans, and especially for VA care.
Yes, it is, and the VA is prepared to meet that challenge. We have a huge focus on our behavioral health programs that help veterans deal with PTSD and TBI or any other ailment that they may have. We are continually hiring mental health providers. We continually improve our services, and most importantly, we are outreaching more to let veterans in the community know what programs are available to them.
How do we, I don't want to use the word rank, but how is our region in comparison to others when we talk about dealing with the amount of veterans dealing with PTSD and then addressing suicide as well?
Well, I don't know the specific numbers, but I would imagine that it probably falls within the range of what we see as a whole. And so with that knowledge, it becomes more important that we do outreach to veterans, to the community, to make sure everybody knows what services are available, such as the Veterans Crisis Line, which is very critical to a veteran being able to talk to somebody if they feel like they're in crisis, and then get referred to and connected with the proper resources.
When you talk about the phone, I was looking into some of the information about what has happened since you've been here a little over a year, and there have been a lot of progress made as it relates to phone service, outpatient information, the information people calling the pharmacy. How did you make that happen?
Well, we really started to focus on veterans being able to reach us by telephone. When I did town halls and when I talked to veterans, that was always at the top of the complaint list. And so we've got a call center. We've hired more staff. We've looked at ways that we could become more efficient, such as monitoring and measuring the types of calls that we receive. And so if there's a specific problem that's commonly coming across the line, line, then we work to address that in order to decrease the wait times for telephones.
You know, that means a lot, because that's one of the first things you hear when you talk to veterans about being able to talk to somebody and how long it took to get them. Are you still hearing a lot of that? I heard some great things yesterday at your meeting.
Yes, and I think a component that we don't realize that we have is that first responder, the family, and the friends that surround the veteran, to be able to understand what's going on and to get that help for him or her. And we got programs, and we see programs coming to try to educate not just the veteran, or to tell him what benefits or what he can get or what help's available, but to let the family know, because they are the first ones to see the crisis coming. And when a veteran starts thinking about self-harm, but whether it be drugs, suicide attempts, or whatever it might be, it's important for that first tier to be educated to know just as much as the veteran about where help is available.
Yeah, because you're all, as a family, experiencing what the veteran's going through.
Exactly.
Brian, I guess I don't want to turn this into a brag fest on you, but in reading information, you turned your last facility into a 5-star, while the Biloxi was rated as a 1-star. So a lot of expectation there. And what do you feel that you're bringing to this area with that expertise of what you've seen happen?
I feel that one of the most important things is empowering staff to have them realize that they can affect change. They have the best ideas to affect change. And so that's what we've been focusing on. So we want to make sure we're working as a team and that we trust each other as a team. And I think if we can get all of those things right, that's the magic formula for us moving forward and improving our scores.
And of course, a veteran of 22 years of the Air Force helping veterans, and that makes a big difference.
It does.
We're going to take a break, and as we go to the break this morning, we'll hear more from the Veterans Recovery Resources founder and executive director, John Kilpatrick. The Army Reserve's Lieutenant Colonel tells us this morning that what it takes to connect some veterans with their health and medical benefits. It may sound familiar to what just shared.
The call we get at Veterans Recovery Resources is often not the veteran. It's their spouse, their parent, even a child. And here's the sad truth. This program is not here for the folks who need it. And the veteran has to want help to walk through the door. But what I always remind the family members, we're here for them too. And we know that if we treat the family, the veteran's going to follow, because, you know, oftentimes when the family reaches out to tell us about the problems with their veteran, you know, PTSD, post-traumatic stress, addiction, those are family diseases, and it affects the whole family. So you really do have to treat the whole family, and we'll start from whoever presents first. So we encourage those family members, you know, if your veteran's not willing to come, you come. They'll follow, because I think you're going to find something here that's really special. And we can teach those family members, you know, how to relate to their veteran who's struggling, how to detach with love, how to, you know, do those things that we know work. We're about removing barriers to care, and oftentimes payment is a barrier, and so we'll treat any veteran regardless of their ability to pay. And so we literally will treat someone who has no ability to pay, and then we kind of take it on ourselves to figure out if there is a way, if they're qualified or helping them get benefits that they're entitled to. You know, we help with all of that, but we're not going to delay treatment because of their lack of pay. So that's served us really well. We've been able to do that with grant funding and other charitable contributions to our organization. And we have a lot of good people here who, you know, could be making a lot more money elsewhere. And, you know, we've just got a really cost-effective delivery method, and you know, we're not going to let cost be a barrier to treating our veterans.
and one of the partners who's a part of the grand umbrella of making sure that our veterans are getting treatment, the Veterans Resources Recovery. And of course, joining us again here, Brian Matthews, along with Lou Lartigue. And when you hear that information, that's what you have been sharing in your concept of creating the partnerships and relationships to make sure that we get the veterans to the VA.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the VA can do a whole lot for a veteran, but we can't do everything. And so in those instances, community partnerships are so important. And since the time that I've been here, the community has really embraced us and engaged us and even approached us about the different things that they can do that will make things a whole lot better for veterans. We, as a healthcare system, we want to be the provider of choice. In this catchment area, we have approximately 53,000 veterans. Of those 53,000 veterans, 19,000 are enrolled in our system, and of those 19,000, only 12,000 are utilizing the services. So there's a lot of veterans out there that are not using the VA services that they earned. And so I would encourage them to give our clinic a call or give our healthcare system a call and ask for eligibility, and they will get the process started.
Very important to get started. And Lou, you shook me up there when you were talking about the numbers being even greater, those of us who are not in the system and taking advantage, even enrolled, I guess.
Right, like myself. I'm not enrolled because I have Medicare and TRICARE for life. And I'm not enrolled because I want to see the other veterans get help. I don't need it right now. And so, and there's a number of people like that who have private insurance and so forth that don't want to clutter up the VA system if we already have the help. And so, but yeah, we encourage, you know, and I think the service that y'all are providing now is going to be a good marketing tool to increase the folks that come forward, the veterans who come forward. And we try in our South Alabama Veterans Council and all of our meetings and town halls and things that we conduct is include the VA and include in our correspondence to all of our members, you know, what, who to see, where to go to get help, and referrals and so forth. So we form a good partnership, I think, in trying to support our veterans in the South Alabama area.
Right. I think it takes all of us in a partnership arrangement and agreement. And I think if anyone reads the track record of some of the things that accomplished previous VA facility, there are some great days ahead for the new facility here, and it's a good thing to have a new place at the same time as we're bringing in a new administration. So we wish you a lot of success here on the Gulf Coast, and of course we want Lou to get more of our guys taking advantage of the VA system here as well. We thank you both for joining us this Sunday, and of course, veterans, for more information on the Mission Act as well as how to improve your health care services, please call the numbers that you see on the screen this morning. Now, you can contact the Mobile VA Clinic on Demetropolis, as well as the Veterans Recovery Resources Office on Spring Hill and Mobile, and of course the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And we want to thank all of you veterans and members of the armed services for your service to our country. It is most appreciated. Now join us again here next Sunday morning at 7:30 for Perspectives as we discuss important issues and seek solutions. If you have any ideas of topics, just drop us a line here. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week.